All right, guys, thank you so much for joining the Bill and Pablo show. This is Bill. That's Pablo right there. And it's time for me to give out my picks, Bill's picks, intelligent picks in here.
The
We're going to get the smarter mind into something
mastermind.
going with their heart. We're going to go use some of this.
The,
So let's start this. Let's
huh,
start this.
the
So let's start off in
the
the
objectivity on the show.
AFC. AFC. So let's start off in the AFC. First of all, Kansas City versus the Browns. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. There's a reason that
Mm,
Kansas City is favored by almost 10 at this point. They're gonna win this game
mm,
quite. I think Browns are coming off a huge monumental win for them. They're gonna be too high of that to kind of prepare and have the same energy for the next game. And we all know the history with Andy Reid and his him coming off by. This guy never ever loses. So going from them, and they just have a much better team overall compared to the Browns. So I just think that's a pretty easy one there. We'll have Kansas City going through. And then we go for number two seed Buffalo facing off against Baltimore. I'm actually going to agree with Pablo here. I actually do see an upset. I'm actually also going to go with
mm.
Baltimore. Buffalo isn't really much of a running team as much as we think. And then on top of that, Baltimore has been probably, I think, if Rams are the best, they're probably the second best defense in the league this year, according to me. They've only given up 197-ish yards per game this season. And in the playoffs, they did a number on the Tennessee Titans. You see what they did to Derrick Henry. They'll take away your top strength, and you're not going to be able to run it up on them. So I kind of think this one is a bit easier. So I'm just going to go with Buffalo here. Lamar's going to carve up the defense. If Philip Rivers can do it, why can't Lamar? So we'll kind of move on there. Let's move on to the NFC. Top seed Green Bay, and then we have the Rams. I'm actually going to take the upset here too. I'm going to go with the
Oh,
Rams. I think Green Bay relies way too heavily on Devontae Adams, and he has his match, and Jalen Ramsey. They've both been the top receiver statistically, and then the top corner. So I think that matchup kind of washes out. There's not much really there, and I just don't think Green Bay has enough playmakers outside of him who will kind of make it a more challenging game for the Rams because only way Green Bay wins is if Jared Goff just becomes a turnover machine and he just keeps giving away the ball, which I don't think is going to happen. They're just going to rely way too heavily on the run, and as we know, Packers aren't really the best team against the run. So
no love for Aaron Rodgers,
as much as
the
I love Aaron
potential league
Rodgers,
MVP on this show.
I just don't believe in the other playmakers they have against Devontae Adams, and they're going to clog up the run, put Ramsey on Devontae, and then I just don't believe in the rest of the playmakers on that team. Move down to the other game, New Orleans and Tampa Bay.
Mm,
This one was a bit hard for me. I'm actually going to
mm,
say this because Tampa Bay has been the best run defense in the
mm,
league so far, and I think they're just going to keep Kamara at bay. And then it really falls on Drew Brees. And coming off those broken ribs, I just don't believe in him that much, and we kind of see he was kind of
mm,
limited. They kind of just took the game out of his hands. They
mm.
just relied on Kamara. Uh,
Oh, oh,
um,
oh! I can't believe what I'm hearing.
um, and even on the defensive end, I think Antonio Brown's kind of been big revelation. So although they can put Lattimore on
Mm,
he's done a very good job in the past against Mike Evans. They can put Jack Rabbit on Chris Godwin, and then finally, I think that's going to be their deciding matchup. Who they're going to put on Antonio Brown. I think that's going to be the winning game. And I think Brady's going to go to him over and over again. And this is going to be a close affair, and I think Tampa Bay does
mm.
actually make out of this one. Tampa Bay
Ooh!
actually makes it out. I
I can't believe what I'm
uh,
heing.
wow, that's
He's
that was
converted. He's seen the light.
that.
He's seen the light.
Yeah, let's see. That one was reluctantly as I don't want to say it, but I think Tampa Bay kind of wins that one. Let's
Mm,
move into the next round. We have, of course, the Rams facing off against Tampa Bay. So that's going to be an exciting matchup. The Rams pulling off the upset, and also with Tampa Bay pulling off the upsets. Rams just won't really be able to rely on the running game because, as I was talking about earlier, um, Tampa Bay just has the best run defense in the league, so they'll have to rely too much on Goff, and that's when the mistakes are going to happen. And although the defense will kind of keep Tom Brady at bay, but at the end of the day, I think Tom Brady will make one or two more plays, and Goff will make more mistakes. And at the end of the day, I do see Tampa Bay actually moving on to the Super Bowl.
Mm. He's
On
got
the other side,
TB12 in his 10th Super Bowl. Wow,
right.
I need to make sure it's in Tampa red.
Yeah, didn't really thought very hard. Wanted to pick against them in both of the matchups, but they both rely too heavily on the run game, and I just don't see them being able to run it on Tampa Bay. Coming over to the other side, Kansas City versus Baltimore. I think Kansas City's kind of had Baltimore's number for a few years now. Lamar, like they've absolutely blown out the Baltimore Ravens every time they faced, 2 times last year. And although I don't think this will be a complete blowout, I do see Kansas City actually moving on to the Super Bowl from this side. And then we have the matchup of Tampa Bay versus Kansas City Chiefs. This will actually be interesting because Kansas City doesn't really have to rely on the run game. They're the most prolific offense there is in the league. And I think Tampa Bay has some of the weapons where they can kind of keep pace with them. And that'll be a good high-scoring Super Bowl. And I do see Kansas City repeating as the champs again. So I think although Tom Brady will lead his team to the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes just a different beast with all those weapons that he has. And Tampa Bay isn't the best pass defense with those young corners at the back. And I think that's where they'll be exploded. And that'll be the team to exploit them. They had two of the easier matchups with two quarterbacks who were limited before, so kind of was reluctant. They had to rely on the run game. So that'll be the first team where they'll meet their true test. That doesn't have to rely on the run game.
The back-to-back champions, Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for checking out the Bill and Pablo show. Of course, you heard the Bills picks. I'm Bill, and that's Pablo over there. Until next time.